We've just arrived in Western Australia and I thought I'd show everyone how we make camp bread on the road. So first things first, I've got the fire going, and then I've taken a beer out the fridge and just busy warming it up so it's not icy cold. We'll need that for the beer bread. This is our camp oven over here. As you can see, it's got a handle, vital for getting it off the fire, and this lid's got a lip on it so you can put coals on the top, and as you lift the lid the coals don't get into your food. It's been nicely oiled the last time we used it, so it's ready to go again. With the fire you just want lots of little sticks really, you don't want lots and lots of big logs because you're after the embers really for the campfire, for the oven, so that's what we've got there. Okay, so the fire is roaring, the camp oven's warm and the beer's warm, so I'm going to show you how we make our bread on the road. I'm not saying it's the right way, but it works for us. We don't have to use any measuring devices, which is always helpful, so less to clean. So this time we haven't tried this before, but we thought we'd give it a whirl. A dash of baking powder, just to help the bread rise a bit. And put a spot of pepper in, always goes down well. And a dash of salt, just a pinch. You can add any herbs you like really. Garlic's always good for garlic bread, but this time I'm just adding rosemary and I put a bit of thyme in too. So, all very scientific stuff, as you can see. Measured very precisely. Perhaps a bit more of that. Okay, lovely. Now, we're also trying this time wholemeal flour. Just self-raising flour will do usually, but we thought we'd give wholemeal a whirl, so I'm just going to pour this into the mixing bowl, like so. That's good for the fire. And then just mix those salts, spices and the baking powder in. Very rough, as you see. And then just in the middle, make a bit of a basin. And then with your warm beer that we made earlier, we're just going to pour that into the middle in little bits. Just a little bit at a time. And with a wooden spoon just start to mix it in. So you're aiming for a nice dough really. And you'll see quite easily when you've achieved that, when it stops sticking to the side of the bowl and starts to lift up quite nicely. I think I've probably put a dash too much beer in that time, but we'll roll with it and see where we go. I think I might actually get a bit more flour because I put a bit much beer in that time, so bear with me, I'll be right back. Now it's just a case of mixing in a drop more beer until you get the right consistency. You'll get used to knowing what it should look like and feel like. And it's always worth just giving it a go a couple of times until you're sure you know what you're doing, before you inflict your recipe on other people, that is. just starting to feel about right. Just going to add a bit more flour in. Now that it's got past the sticky stage, it's nice to get your hands in there, because you can really start to feel when it starts to take the form of the dough you're looking for. It just stops becoming sticky and well, it turns into dough, really. So that's not looking too bad now. I'm just going to knead it a bit. Okay. I'm happy to call that my dough. So once you've got the close the beer bread dough, next thing we're going to do is just take the lid off the camp oven and pop a bit of oil in the bottom. And then I'm just going to make my dough into a little ball. Just sit him on the base of the oven like that. And now, the only thing to do is to have a couple of beers and give him a chance to rise. So I'm going to do just that. Right, so I've given that about 2 beers. Which should be enough. We've got the bread in the oven there, well oiled, ready to go. Put the lid on the oven. I'd just like to show you what I do with the fire. You can see I've split it into 2 sections because I learnt this fairly early on. You've got to cook a camp oven over these embers, which is this side here. And when you take them out of the fire, it usually kills the fire. So it's handy to have your next set of embers ready to go under the oven, and just to one side really, so when you take them out for the cooking, you don't kill your fire. That's the plan anyway. So what I'm going to do now is just take a shovel full of these embers. I'm just going to place them just out of the way of the fire really, so that the heat from the fire is not affecting the camp oven. Just flatten them out, and then I'm just going to pop the camp oven on top. And because we're cooking a bread, well, another thing I thought a bit of grated cheese over the top might get down quite well. We'll do that now. Right, so because we're cooking a bread, and once it's cooked evenly, I want heat from the top too, so I'm going to put another spadeful of embers over the top, like that. So that's good to go now, and that's effectively an oven. So we usually give that about half an hour or a couple of beers, and give it a check, but for a bread, usually 2 beers will do it. So we'll see you again in 2 beers. Right, so we've given it a couple of beers, and it's time for the first check. So roughly about half an hour for 2 beers, I think, is standard beer drinking time. I've stoked the fire up again just for warmth and light, so we'll just have a check. Now it'll depend on how long it will take, will depend on your camp oven. As ours is stainless steel, it'll vary from a iron camp oven. Now that's looking pretty good, so the way to check is just to flick the top, and if it sounds hollow, then it's ready. I think that could do with a few more minutes, so what I'm going to do is put the lid back on and shovel some more coals. So again, what I've done here is just left a bit of space at the bottom of the campfire, and that's where I'm going to get my embers from. So there we go, nice spoonful of them on the top. Usually what I'd do is I'd lift the oven and put a few underneath it too, but in this case the embers underneath will still be hot enough, so I'm just going to move a few around the side with the spade like this. And that should be wonderful. So we'll see you in another beer. Right, so we're another beer down, and I think it's time to give it a second check. So we'll just shovel the coals off. As I said earlier, the beauty of this oven is that it's got this lip around the edge, so when I'm shoveling the coals off, it stops the embers getting into our food, which is always nice. So let's crack her open. That looks better still. I'd be happy to call that done. So, what I'm going to do now is just grab a plate and lift them off. So, that's how we do beer bread. And I wish you could smell this now, because that smells great, even though I say so myself.